Welcome back, friends. This scene is not far from my home in beautiful Montana. I've sold more paintings of this scene than any other in my history as an artist. In this video, I'm going to paint another miniature 8x10 with full instruction on technique and colors. I will start with an acrylic underpainting and finish it with oil paint. When I'm done, I'll put it up for auction on eBay. So let's get started. I probably won't use all of these colors, but these are mostly the colors I use when I'm working with acrylic. This is a red ochre. It's kind of a warm red. Of course, black. Don't use it very often. This is ultramarine blue, lemon yellow, yellow ochre. This is called crimson, and of course white. And I always want to use some water. And occasionally when I'm working with acrylic, I use a spray bottle just to keep the acrylic moist as I'm working with it. It dries very quickly. We've got to remember that this acrylic color is just an underpainting. Okay, so let's just start by putting a little white in the sky. Put a little blue in there. Now let's mix up a little violet color. Take some blue, calm it down with some white. And let's start putting some of that in the mountains. More blue. Alrighty. Good enough. Just put a little bit of white in there. Not much. Now I think I'm going to keep this brush with the violet on it. Get another brush here. Let's mix up some greens. Greens, I never buy commercial greens. Just mix the lemon yellow color, a little bit of Payne's gray. We'll start off with a real bright green, spring green, if you want to call it. Let's put a little white in there. And we'll put that in this area. A little more yellow in there. I like how those colors are not all mixed up. We have some of that green color clear down into here, kind of that spring green color, and we have a little over here. And I'm going to grab the brush with the violet in it and just bring that down just a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to grab another brush here, and on this green I'm going to make it a little darker, and I want to add a little red in it. Makes it more of a green gray. Now it's really good to have different colors, so we're going to put a little yellow in here. And at times we'll put a little more gray. A little more red maybe in the next tree. That way we get a little bit more interesting color. Remember, this is just another painting, so we're not worried too much about getting everything just right. There we go, and I see an area where we need a little bit more of that spring-like type kind of green. A little darker here. So we'll put a little more of that just right down in here. Green that down a little bit more. And I'm going to give this a little squirt with some water here. Keep this acrylic moist. We're going to make this purple color. And then let's add some green in there. Maybe some of these reds. Again, we want this dark, but we don't want it the dull black that you get if we just use black color. Alright, let's take a little bit more of this spring greenish color, that up in here. Maybe a little bit more right up in here. Yeah, I'm mixing a little bit more blue. And we'll use some of the same color for the tree here. All right, let's get some of these rocks here. I'll put a little white on there first. All right, now go in there and get some of these gray colors here. And put some more warmer colors in there. All right, and we'll make this a little bit lighter and with a darker color on the bottom. We don't want to worry too much about where these rocks are going. Oh, put a little lighter color right up on top of that rock. A little squirt of water. That acrylic is drying fast. Some of these rocks come up in here. Oh, a little red. We don't need a red up in here. We got a little underpainting in there. That's really all we want. Now most of this is white water, so we'll be using a lot of white in here, but on the other hand, with this acrylic, we can put white over the top of any other color. So the best way I've always found in doing water, and of course this is an underpainting, so we're not going to worry about it too much, is just to take the colors that we're using on everything else and just kind of smear them all together. Again, this is just an underpainting. Kind of work around this rock with some of the same colors that, see, water reflects all the colors that are surrounding it, and if water is really moving, then it gives reflections of all the different colors around it. So just kind of randomly take the different colors that we've been using so far and put them in there as water. Take some of this green color. And more blue. And we'll finish off with a little bit of this, more of this rock kind of color in here. Just randomly take some color here. Okay, I think that's good enough for the underpainting. This will be dry in about 10 minutes. That's all it takes. Okay, here we go with the oil. My palette is still a little dirty from my last painting, but it's the same color setup. Lemon yellow, light red, Payne's gray, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, raw sienna, and white. I always like to get set up by mixing some preliminary colors. So we're going to start by mixing up a violet color, which is Payne's gray, alizarin crimson, and of course we'll mix that with several stages of white. And then some greens, lemon yellow, Payne's gray. And we'll use several stages of this green. Sometimes we'll mix it with some red. We'll mix white in there. But these are just some preliminary colors that are used a lot. First of all, let's get some sky going. And a little bit of blue in there. And more white. There we go. It's kind of a marble sky color. A little more white in here. I want to cover up the tops of those mountains just a little bit. If I need them back, I can always lift off the oil paint with a brush and some lens cleaner, and I might need to do that. I will take some of this violet color we mixed up, mix a lot of white in there. And that's a pretty good shade to get started with. Distant mountains. Purple mountains. You ever heard that before? Now I'll just work it into some of these places. Now I'll just take a little bit of this ultramarine blue mixed with a little tiny bit of white. We'll put just some of those in here. More white. And now we'll put some more white in there for the distant snow. And of course, we don't want to use pure white. That would appear like it's too close. In the distance, the whites are always going to be slightly bluish. The farther off in the distance they are, the more bluish they become. Now we just take some of the white and get a nice bead right along the edge of the knife, and just lightly, there we go, really light touch. Let it just kind of skip along the canvas there, and then just get a little bit more along the, just on the edge. It's okay if it's not all entirely mixed up, just light touches. A couple of the places need a little bit white, but not all the way white. I will just flip it this way for just a second. And we'll take this blue, just put just a little tiny bit of the burnt sienna in there. And as it works down the mountain, these are places where the distant trees are on the rock, and they'll get greener as they come closer. So, okay, now green. Make this green a little darker, a little deeper green. And like I said earlier, we're going to put a little red in there. That takes some of the twang out of the green, makes it a little more natural. And let's just start right up in here. Now, we'll mix a little bit of the raw sienna in there, or it's yellow ochre, whatever you want to call it. And just keep changing the colors as we come down. And we'll start with this other tree here. Just little tiny touches. A little darker green, a little red. There, see that red in there? Kind of livens it up a little bit. Put some red and green together here. Now a little lighter, warmer colors. We'll just kind of pepper them in there. The dark color we mixed up with alizarin crimson and Payne's gray, and we're just going to put some dark spots. Notice that there's one side of the tree that's darker than the other, so we'll put some of those darks right in there. Now we could have put the dark in first, either way, and we'll put a little on this one. More darks as we get down below. And again, this is where we want to keep mixing the darks and the lights. Just mix them all together. Let's take some more of these darks and work them around. There we go. Yes. There we are. Okay, let's take a flat brush and we'll mix some of these lighter greens. A little white. There we go. Into those greens. Spring green. And we'll just kind of put a little touch here and a little there. Go ahead and let them mix in with the darker color we just put on there. A little more right in through here. And a little right here. Just a touch here and there. And we'll take some of these greens that aren't quite so light. We'll put just a little here, a little there. And let's put just a bit of that right down. Okay, I'm going to keep the green color on that brush, and I'm going to take another flat brush here. Put some dark color on it here. And just kind of work around this lighter color. And back to a little lighter color. Just a hair. Right here and there. Yeah, as long as I've got the brush with this lighter color on it, I'll put a little over here. Work a little of it right down into here. Now these greens in the background should be kind of blued down just a little bit because they are off in the distance. So we'll put some blue green off in the distance there. Or darks. Just kind of roll the brush. And let's put some darks. Get this tree started here. And with the brush with a little lighter green on it, just now right over the top of the darks that's wet, just little taps to indicate some grass that's in the shadows. Now we want some of this green color. I'm going to add a little more red in it. And just a touch here and there. And a little palette knife. Get some of those sharp edges. Just a few. A little darker color. Same thing. Just a couple little sticks here and there. Kind of like a deep forest. Okay, now take the palette knife with this lighter violet color. Just a little scrape. Now we just take a little stiffer brush and just dab it into the dark so we can see that it has just color just on the ends of it. And we just want to touch those here and there a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing with a lighter color, just to give the bush there some shape. Now there's a little tree right up in here. Just kind of get an idea where we want to put it. And to make it more interesting, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. Take the rigger brush, just a narrow little liner brush, some people call it. And we'll just kind of turn it right there. And soften it up a little bit. And also to make this little tree right here pop just a little bit, take some more white, a little tiny bit more green. Make that a real light green though. There we go. And same brush here, I cleaned it off a little bit. We're just gonna kind of tap this along here and kind of soften up these rocks back in here just a little bit. And let's strengthen up this dark area right here. All right, let's mix up some more of this darker color. And let's go to town with this fan brush. Just a little bit more, and it's cleaner on there. And let's mix up some more green. Payne's gray, lemon yellow, and with a touch of red. And we're just going to put some of this darker color in there too, but we don't want to mix it up entirely. All right, let's just put some of that in there. And back to some more darks. A little more yellow in there. Always can see a places on pine trees where the branches of the needles have started to brown. We'll put a few of those in there. And we'll take the palette knife and we'll strengthen up that trunk. And just on the other side of that, just kind of use the other side of the palette knife. We'll just give it a little bit of a lightness right here, here. And there's a dark area right down in here. Just touches of the fan brush. Let's take some of this lighter green stuff, white and green together. Let's poke a little of it right down in here. And there's something I always just love doing, and that's just to take some pure alizarin crimson mixed with nothing else, and then the deep green colors, just a touch, a place, doesn't matter where, too much, just pure alizarin crimson, and not all over. You can overdo it, but it just, that contrast just sometimes really brings it alive. Okay, now we're going to just take a little bit of white, just a tiny bit, and make it real thin. Thin it down. Okay, let's take care of some of these rocks that are close up to us here. Let's start out with a dark color again. Same old mixture of things, gray and alizarin crimson. And just don't want to be too careful. Just be quick with some of these marks. Don't want to poke around too much. And take the palette knife and just barely touch it and scoot it along there. And a little bit more right up in here. Make a rock here. I'll put some blue in there, because there will be times when rocks, flat ones, reflect the sky color. There we go. Some more raw sienna, blue together, and some darks. And we'll just kind of scrape them all, let them mix together. Okay, now we'll take some lighter, more white in that purple. A couple of highlights here, a little more white. Okay, now we'll take the rigger again, and we'll get a nice juicy color of alizarin crimson, Payne's gray, nice dark color. Make sure it's nice and juicy. Just a little branch here and there. And take your stiff brush again. Just take a little bit of palette knife here and put some lighter violet colors. All right, let's get some of this blue sky color, but besides just ultramarine blue and titanium white, we're going to put some violets in there also. Maybe a little bit more alizarin crimson to make a pretty violet color, but yet not quite the same color as this right here. All right, I'm going to take this little smaller palette knife, make a couple of these places here that right up next to the bank here, right in through there. Now notice here that this color right in here has a little more green in it. So we'll take some of this green, mix it with the blue, and we'll just kind of marble it together. There we go. A little more green right in through here. Take that same color with all these little colors that we've used so far. Some down along here. There we go. Take some of this raw sienna with the violet and some greens. Just okay, now white on the palette knife, nice little bead, and just touch it here and there. Start off with along the bank, and just a little up in here, where you want to start pulling it through the wet paint. See how that marbles in? A little bit more white. And just take this brush, kind of a rough brush here, and just kind of touch it where the splashes are. Okay, now a little more white, a little more blue, maybe a little purple, and maybe a little green. And just kind of marble them together. Let's do it again. Take some of the white, some of the purple or violet, a little green. And we'll do the same thing in here. Looks like a little more white is in order. Here we go. A little more white. Just barely touch it in through here. And during the rough water, just barely touch the canvas. Some real white. Again, just barely hang on to the palette knife. Now some here. Now this is where we already put some color. It's still wet. A little more blue, green, white. More white. Barely touch the canvas. Right in through here. There we go. Last little bit on this side. There we go. A little bit on this rock here. A little lighter color on top. Put some darker color underneath that one. A little darker. Okay, there it is. This demonstration painting goes up for auction on eBay. Check it out in the link below if you're interested. I'm Stephen Rathburn. Catch you on the next one.